Namaste students. So now today we are going to revise with chapter number 1. Okay. Now when we talk about chapter number 1, automated business process, and obviously I recommend keep your notes along with your revision lecture. Okay, this is revision lecture, so keep your notes from which I have taught you along with you and all the diagrams, so it will help you to revise and recollect what we have done during the whole lectures. Okay, now automated business process. Now automated business process, first you need to understand what is business. Correct. So business is commercial activity, buying and selling of goods and services, which is definition as per your concept, as per your commerce. But when I talk about the technical definition of business, business is nothing but the collection of various processes. Okay, purchase, sales, CRM, SCM, production, all the different processes, when they are coming together, they are going to create your business. Understood? Now, till now we were doing business manually, but as the scale will goes up, scale will expand, you want to expand your business, you need to convert your manual business processes into automated business processes. So automation is nothing but converting your manual process, converting your manual process into automation using technology. That is what the concept of automated business process. Second, you never integrate technology, you never integrate technology into business, you always integrate technology into process, and that's why it is known as automated business process. Okay, so before we get into the details, you need to understand, as I told you, that business is a collection of what? Processes. Correct. So that's why the first topic is enterprise business processes. You need to understand the various processes of the business. Okay, so they have categorized the business process into three parts, and it is nothing but operational process, supporting process, and management process. Okay, now when I talk about the operational process, where our employees directly give value to our customers, it is a basic process, means basic processes like sales, purchase. Okay, that comes into operational process. Second, supporting process, to make sales and purchase smooth. Okay, we require supporting processes like HR. Now look, we say like that, okay, our customer should be satisfied. Correct. So our employee should give all the services to our customer, but who appointed that employee who is giving all the services to our customer and which is adding value to our customer satisfaction? Who appointed that employee? HR, human resource. So that comes into supporting processes. Okay, now supporting process never directly add value to the organization or our customer satisfaction, but indirectly it will add value to our organization or customer satisfaction, like appointing a good employees. Correct. And then the third is management process. Now look, obviously when I talk about management processes, it is nothing but policies, budgeting, infrastructure, capacity planning. All these top level decisions are taken by the management, and for that we have a management process. Look, when I say management process, is actually nothing but what? Measure, monitor, control, planning, designing. All these things comes into the management process, and they have given one example of budgeting here. Okay, now once you understand a different processes, like first operational, second supporting, and third management, next we should move on to the next concept, automated business process, the actual concept. Now basically automated business process consists of a concept called business process automation, conversion of all the activities which we were doing manually, now we will do automated using technology. Okay, now the first question, they are saying objectives of BPA or success factors for BPA. Okay, success factors. So understood. When we are going to use technology, I told you that technology is nothing but conversion of all the manual things using computerization. Correct. When you are going to use technology, your data will be converted from physical into electronic form. And I told you that whenever the data will be in electronic form, we have discussed this in chapter 3 also and 2 also. Correct. Okay, whenever we are going to use technology, data will be in electronic form, and then data need to be secured. Correct. So you can see first, confidentiality. Our data should not be accessed or modified by unauthorized person. Should not. Okay. Integrity. Our data should not be modified by any unauthorized person, or it should not be modified in unauthorized way. Availability. as an management, as a employee of the company, whenever I want, I can get my information. I can access to my information at any point of time. And timeliness, information should be available at the right time. Information should be available at the right time. Now there is always a confusion between availability and timeliness. Look, availability means you can access the information at any point of time, but timeliness means what? In organization, certain report has a time bound. Certain reports has a time bound. Like for example, daily reports. It should be generated every day 5 p.m. Then at 5 p.m. that report has to be presented to the management or to the person who required. Daily report, weekly report, monthly report, these are called time bound. It has to be reported or presented at the correct time, and that is what called timeliness. The system should produce that report on time. Okay. Availability means at any point, whenever I want to access at any point of time. But timeliness means right time. That report should be generated at the right time of that report. Okay. Now, once your objectives of BPA or the success factor of BPA will get over, you will start with benefits of automation, correct? Now, quality and consistency. As actually work will be done by systems, you will find what? All the identical things, correct? And when you get every step identical, obviously you are going to get what? Quality and consistency. Time saving. Obviously, human will perform the task, it will take time. The machine will reduce the time. Visibility. You can see the things are going correctly. Improved operational efficiency. Now, improved operational efficiency is actually nothing but a combination of time saving and reduced cost. Time saving and reduced cost. It's a mixture point of this. You can see automation reduces the time it takes to achieve a task, the effort required to undertake, and cost of completing it successfully. It is nothing but the hybrid point of reduced cost and time saving. Governance and reliability. The consistency of automated process means stakeholders can rely on business process, correct? Because system, look, I told you that in chapter 3 also, system never do any mistake if it is programmed correctly. It is always human who makes the mistake, who makes the errors. Okay. And reduce turnaround time. It eliminates unnecessary tasks, so it will speed up your process, correct? Okay. So that is what reduce turnaround. The time turnaround means what? The time required to complete a task. That is what called turnaround time. Okay. So once your benefit is over, the next step you will get is steps. Steps for implementation of BP. Now I told you while explaining this during the lecture also, if I want to convert my organization, for example, my suppose my class, okay, I want to convert whatever right now we were teaching, everything was manual, and now I want to integrate technology into my business. So look, whenever someone will tell me, okay, someone will tell me, sir, we should use this technology, we should use this technology, the first question will comes from my inside of my body, my mind, my heart. Why? So first you should decide why you want to go for BPA. And why we want to go for BPA? Only because we are facing some form of problems, correct? So they have given list of generic reasons for what we should go for BPA. Now, step 2. Sometimes we need to follow rules and regulations which are set by the government, correct? Now look, for teaching industry there is no rules and regulations that set by the government. But suppose if you are a banking, if you are an insurance, then there has to be a guidelines which you need to follow for integrating technology. Okay. But for us there is no guidelines. Now in teaching also there are multiple process. So whichever process we are converting from manual to automation or automated, we need to document the old process, how we were working. Now it will help you to find, it will help you to find the problems, it will help you to improve your process, it will give the clarity on the process what we were doing. Okay. So that is what step 3. Now once step 3 is over, step 4 will come into the picture, what we can achieve, objectives. But look, objectives are always different for different organizations, so it will not be a common objective. So that's why they are not defined. But what they are telling you, objectives, when you are defining the objectives, you should understand certain criteria. Your objective should be smart, correct, specific, which means it is clearly defined, measurable, you can count, correct, achievable, attainable, you can achieve it. Correct. Relevant, you are required those things. And the most important, timely. It should be time bound. Like for CA student, first attempt is, look, I will not say like this, but this is just a small example. You should put all your efforts to clear your CA attempt or CA exams in the first attempt itself. That is called timely. Okay. So specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, timely. Your objectives should be smart. Always remember this in your life also. Okay. Now, once you complete with your objectives, who will do all those things? So step 5, we will appoint the experts, and the experts will help us to convert our manual process into automation. But the problem is, until unless management will need not find return on investment, they will not find the things profitable, they will not allow you to convert. Correct. So this consultant will explain them the benefits of automation, and that is step 6. And then step 7 will come into the picture. You will start developing, and once your process is developed, what will you do? You will perform testing. Correct. Understood. Okay, so total 8 steps. First, why. Second, rules and regulations. Third, document the existing process. Fourth, objectives. Fifth, consultant. Sixth, ROI. Seven, developing BPA. And last, testing BPA. Okay, now once your steps are over, I told you that in our syllabus they have given the case study. Now look, people always ask me, sir, what is the possibility that they will ask case study based question like this? There is a quite possibility nowadays. Okay, because they have converted your MCQ also on case study based MCQ. So even if they will ask this case study, minimum marks they will ask is 6 to 8 mark. Okay, what they will do, they will give you a frame entire scene when any company will be there, they are facing some problems, and then they will tell you, okay, convert their problems into the automated business process as a solution, and what are the steps you will follow, okay, to solve their problems and to go for automated business process. So then you need to write step by step things. Now the best part, you should attend this case study because you know the name of 8 steps. So you are going to get a good marks in 8 steps, and read that paragraph, and using that explanation of that paragraph, you can write little things in all the steps which will help you to get the good marks. Okay, so here we have completed your case study part. Okay, now after this case study, next topic will start is risk and its management. But if you remember, I told you that after completing this case study, you should jump to flowchart for the continuity of our topic as we started thinking of automation. Okay, diagrammatic presentation of business process. And obviously, suppose now, after thinking of all these steps, after all the discussion, I have decided, yes, I want to go for automation. Now when I decided I want to go for automation, what is the first step? Obviously we will do a meeting with the experts, the people who are going to create automated softwares, technology, infrastructure for us. Now when they will meet us, how we will explain our process to them, how we will explain our problem to them. Now whenever whatever the solutions, how they will explain how the solution will work. Correct. So look, if I will explain in my layman language, they will explain in technical language, then there is no matching. Correct. So we require some other way through which we can easily explain our problems and they can easily explain the solutions to our problems. And diagram is the most common way because diagrams represents 1,000 words. I hope you have heard of such kind of phrases. Okay, the most common diagrammatical presentation which we use is nothing but flow chart. Okay, now flow chart, the name itself indicates flow. It will show the flow steps of the process. Now generally two of the diagram which we use in flow chart, you can see one is rectangular box to show the process, and another is decision box, diamond, for decisions. Okay, and then there is a small topic called explain steps for creating flowcharts, where we have discussed, if you remember, we will identify the process, then we will discuss with the experts, then experts will draw the rough diagrams, then they will ask us to review the diagram, then they will also ask our other employees about the other details, Then after getting the details, they will actually see that our process, look, any process will start from inputs. So they will see that which is the input for our process, which are the inputs. Now we have discussed here three inputs: external event, if my system is getting any transaction from the other systems, okay, directly. Second, content arrival, I'm receiving the physical invoice and then my employee is starting, typing all the information into our system and the process will start. And human intervention, some of our customer is complaining and that complaint will start the process. Okay, these are the three different ways of input. After this, we will break our process into small parts. Each step we should review with the previous step and the next step, then reorganize the process. And finally, when you reorganize the process, reorganize the steps, we need to inform to every employee whose role is going to affect it. So this is what the process, how we should create a flow chart. And after that, you will find advantages and disadvantages of flow chart, which you can manage on your own. Okay, apart from flow chart, we also have another diagram called data flow diagram. Now, when I talk about data flow diagram, when we use data flow diagram and when we use flow chart. Now, look, I'm just giving you a simple example. Now, right now I have a cell phone. Okay. Can you see the cell phone? Yes. Now, if I want to create a diagram which shows a process inside the cell phone, within the cell phone, then we use flow chart. But if I want to show the data flow between two cell phones, correct? Or between two computers, then I need to use data flow diagram. How my system is going to interact with the external object, how my system is going to interact with the external objects, how my data will be stored on external database, how I'm going to access the data from that database, all those things covered in data flow diagram. Okay. Now, apart from that, I told you that there is a concept of swim lanes. Swim is nothing but swimming. If you remember Olympic swimming pools where you have a lanes and each participants need to follow their lanes. Now, same way you can see here. Generally, we divide the diagrams into swim lanes. Swim lane helps to understand or identify which department is going to perform which step in the process. Like for example, marketing department, you can see place or receive order. Distribution center, it will verify the availability of product. Accounting department, it will print the invoice. Shipping department, it will ship the products. Understood? So that is what called swim lanes. Okay. Now, after this, we have discussed various diagrams of data flow diagram. I told you all these diagrams are important from MCQ point of view. Okay, they may ask this explanation and they will say which diagram we will use for this particular process. Then you should understand, process means this explanation. So you should understand process diagram, data flow diagram, external agent, data store, and real-time link. Okay. Now, next, after finishing data flow diagram, there was another diagram which we have seen R. It is only reading purpose. Diagrammatic presentation of business process. Also, I told R, which means only reading purpose. No need to by heart. Okay. And after that, two different process came into the picture. Explain order to cash process. Okay, which we have already done in chapter number 2. You can see chapter number 2, sales and distribution module. Okay, so if you read chapter number 2, sales and distribution module, that explanation steps, there were 6 steps in sales and distribution model. Pre-planning, remember, sales order, inventory sourcing. So same concept is here, only heading is different. Okay, and same way you will get the next process. You can see explain procure to pay process. Explain, but understand here. I'm just saying head point is different, concept is same, but in exam, I know some question, I know some students will ask me, sir, how we will remember, okay, what to write. Look, if they are and asking like this, explain the basic process of material management, then you need to write in chapter 2. But if they are asking explain procure to pay process, procure to pay is nothing but purchase process, then you need to write from chapter number 1. Please don't get confused. Concepts are same, but head points are different, and you need to remember both the head points of the respected chapter. Okay, so you need to understand. Yes, again I'm saying don't get confused. If I talk about this sales, you can see if they ask explain order to cash process, this is basically order to cash is nothing but sales. Okay, but if they use this word order to cash, this word, then you should write chapter number 1. And if they explain, if they ask like this, explain the processes of sales and distribution module, then chapter number 2. Okay, concepts are same but head points are different. Concepts are same but head points are different. But again you need to understand this, what question they are asking. Based on that you need to write answer. Okay, so order to cash or procure to pay, if such kind of words will come, then chapter number 1. Sales and distribution or material management, if such words will come, then chapter number 2. Okay, and once you finished all these processes you will get some diagrams. Diagrams are only R. Now as you are going to integrate technology into the business, you know that whenever you are going to integrate technology into the business, along with the technology risk will come. But looking at the risk, we cannot avoid using technology. So what we will do, we will implement the necessary controls to mitigate the risk. Correct? Now here they are saying that risk will occur at 3 different levels when you are using automations. Especially they are talking about accounting software: configuration, master, and transaction. And if you remember chapter number 2, we have already discussed configuration is nothing but setting up of parameters before we start using the software. Masters are again those parameters which we set for modules like purchase, sales, inventory, finance. Statutory masters, remember the data which are permanent in nature. And then you will get transactions where we actually pass the entries. So explanation of configuration, master, and transactions we have already discussed in chapter number 2 while I have taught tally. And now you need to understand we are going to learn 6 different process. Procure to pay means purchase, order to cash means sales, correct? Then inventory, fixed assets, human resource, and general ledgers. And in every process there are risk at the different levels, maybe at master level, maybe at transaction level, or maybe at configuration level. Okay, in exam they will be very specific. They will say like explain risk and control related to masters for procure to pay. They will be very specific. They are not going to ask general question. And if you remember, one of the easiest topic is this. Okay, here you don't have to do anything. If you just remember risk, unauthorized changes to supplier master file, here negative point is there, risk, and opposite control is there. So if you only remember risk, also risk points, control points, automatically you will remember. That is a smart study. I told you at the time of explanation also. Plus if you remember this master table, purchase, sales, inventory, and fixed assets, correct? For all this 4 process: purchase, procure to pay, order to cash, sales, inventory, and fixed asset, this master table is common. All the points of risk are common in all these tables. I have already explained you, and again I'm explaining in revision to recollect so that you can recollect these things. Okay, again I'm saying here risk is negative, control are positive. There is no logic, no concept. Just try to remember risk and automatically you will able to write the control points. Okay, now once you will finish with masters, then here transactions are coming. Again you will find same concept. Look, if you see very carefully, unauthorized purchase requisitions are ordered. Purchase orders are placed only for approved requisitions. Purchase orders are not entered correctly. Purchase orders are accurately entered. Now here there are so many points, but what you're supposed to do, select the easiest points. Select the easiest points. And I know that there are so many points. So how much you should remember? Try to remember 70%, not whole. Something is better than nothing. Something is better than nothing. So try to remember this much. Okay. Same way, order to cash. Now, order to cash means sales. Procure to pay means purchase. Understand these words, these terminologies, or else in exam you will get confused. Okay. Now you can just see that here also you will have master table and same transaction table. Okay. But suppose if they ask explain order to cash, can you see this cycle? So again I'm saying you should not remember this. Don't get confused yourself. Just before two topic before we have done order to cash and procure to pay. So you should remember those things only. You should here in this topic you will only remember what masters, the risk and control, and transactions risk and control. Don't get confused, sir. Here also the same wordings are there. Correct. Here is same wordings are there, but you are supposed to remember the earlier answer. Okay. I will again show you. Okay, if they ask explain order to cash, then you should write this one only. Explain order to cash process. You can say C. Don't think of anything else, because some of the students are very smart. They read each and every line and then they get confused. So better I should clarify right now. Now again, if you see master table is same or same as purchase master table. I told you that just the difference, what, over supplier master file, here it is written customer master file, nothing else. Do smart study. Master file, master risk and control is common for purchase, sales, inventory, and fixed assets. Okay. Now, so guys, in this topic, nothing else. And wherever you will find more topics, more number of points, try to remember 70%. Now in inventory, you have a small question. Explain the typical phases of inventory, where ordering phase, production phase, and finished phase. Again, simple explanations are there. After this, you will find human resource, but over there you have two questions. Explain typical stages of HR, human resource cycle. Again, remember, if they ask explain typical stages of HR, human resource cycle, it is in chapter number 1. First appointments, then explain them how to work in company, then help our employees to achieve their roles, their goals, and finally if they want to leave the company, then termination process. And same here, configurations, risk and control. Here also only negative and positive points. Risk is a negative point, and if you convert that point positively, you will get the control. Okay. Now fixed assets. In fixed asset also you will get multiple questions, like explain typical steps in fixed asset process. You can see first you will procure, then you will register the information of the assets into the system, adjusting the assets. You can see transferring the asset from one company to another company. When you transfer, obviously you cannot calculate depreciation on that. Then depreciation assets, which method you use for depreciation, what is depreciation, and finally when you don't have any economic value from the asset, we will dispose the assets. These are very simple points, that's why I'm not discussing in detail. Okay. And here also master and transaction, and finally general ledger. When you enter all the transactions in purchase, sales, inventory, human resource, fixed asset, and all other processes, and after that transaction will get processed, the necessary reports generated by general ledger process. Okay. And again, in general ledger also you will find same thing, risk and controls, configuration, master, and transaction level. Wherever you have more than 8 points, 9 points, try to recollect 60-70%. Okay, try to remember those points. Again, look, simple concept. something is better than nothing. Okay, and once you complete those things, you will get regulatory compliance. Here also I told you that everything which you have learned in your law, Companies Act 2013, section 143 and 134, same thing is here, nothing else. Okay, and same the next part you have seen, audit, management's responsibility, auditor's responsibility. Here, there are very rare chance that they will ask a question, because same topics are there in audit and law, but the topic which they have already asked in the current exam, okay, previous exam, current means previous exam, was this corporate governance. What is governance? Governance is, you know what, setting up of rules and regulations. And when I say corporate governance, which means setting up of rules and regulations for corporate. Now, why we want to set up corporate governance? To protect the interest of our stakeholders. That is what corporate governance. Okay. There are three parts of corporate governance. If you remember, first part is nothing but memorandum of association. Second part, if you see very carefully, it is nothing but article of association. These are examples. Okay. Memorandum, article. And third is nothing but, I told you at the time of explanation also, internal controls. Internal controls. So this is what your corporate governance requirements. Now, once you finish with corporate governance, the next thing will start is IT Act. Now, why we require IT Act? Look, now as the use of, obviously, use of technology will increase, what will happen? Tell me. Different types of crimes will be there, correct? So for that also we require rules and regulations. How to use technology, for also we require rules and regulations, laws. So Information Technology Act is actually framed for multiple things, like e-commerce, how we should supposed to do e-commerce in India. Apart from e-commerce, how we should deal with different crimes, their penalties. Okay, now first question you have here is advantages of cyber laws, and of course advantages of cyber laws from the e-commerce perspective. In May 18 exam, they have asked this question: explain provision from the perspective of e-commerce in India, the IT Act 2000. Like we have discussed, email is now legal evidence. Okay, so any communication you do on email will be actually valid in the court of law. Apart from that, digital signatures you can use now. Initially, digital signature certificate will be issued by only government companies. Now act says private company can also, come into the business, and they can also issue digital signature certificates, and they can act like a certifying authorities. This also I have explained you, certifying authorities. Okay, then apart from that, government also started telling that, okay, you can file your income tax, TDS reports, apart from GST online. Okay, so these are some of the benefits from the e-commerce point of view. And then we have discussed different types of offenses. Now harassment via fake profile, email account, credit cards, all those things are we have discussed. Web defacement, I'm just explaining you. Web defacement is nothing but someone will hack your website, and the homepage of your website will be changed, and it is changed to some pornographic material. That is what called web defacement. Okay, viruses, cyber terrorism, you can see online sale of illegal articles, which means drugs, weapons, cyber pornography, which is already wrong thing. Phishing. Phishing is something, what, someone will send you email telling you that you have won 1 crore rupees or $1 million, and if you get into that trap, that is what called phishing. Theft of confidential information, stealing the software code, that is called source code theft. All these things are known as different offenses. Okay, now apart from that, there is also privacy, but there you can read, it is easy. And of course, apart from this, this cybercrime and all those things are converted into chapter number 5. I told you that it is shifted to chapter number 5. Okay, so, and sensitive personal data information, this also actually the main concept is in chapter number 5, but I explained you what is sensitive personal data information, what is personal data. Now just I'm giving you a small example. Suppose I was admitted into hospital, some treatment was going on for my health. Okay, do you think that hospitals should disclose that information to everyone or any random person? Any random person will go to my bank and they will say, okay, I want every information about Jignesh Sheda, their bank accounts, their details and their balances. Bank should supposed to give that information. Same for insurance company, correct? No, obviously no. So they, all these companies, all these business houses, when they are storing our information, so they need to make sure that this information should not be disclosed to unauthorized person. That is what called sensitive personal data information. And which are this, some of the example of this personal information are password, financial information, physical, psychological, mental health conditions, sexual orientations, medical records, biometric informations, etc. Okay, so look, for this only I have done MCQ. And apart from this, here no need to read anything else. Just go through from chapter number 5. Okay. Now here we have completed the entire topic except that risk and its management. So now what we will do, we will shift to that risk and management. Okay. So I'm shifting to risk and management. So again, get back to the topic, risk and its management. Okay. Now, what is risk? Risk is any event that may result in significant deviation from the planned objectives, resulting in unwanted negative consequences. Correct. In, meanwhile, in some time we will understand what is risk and how we should interpret the risk. But look, always remember, to understand how to mitigate risk, first you should understand the sources of risk. And that is what the first topic in front of you, sources of risk, from where we face the risk. Okay, now here we are not only talking about the technological risk. Here we are talking about a general risk which is faced by the business. Okay, so you can just see the different types of risk, sources of risk, of course, not risk, sources. Then there is a small question. Risk has a following characteristics which they can ask for 2 mark or 3 mark, and that's why I'm telling you. First, if risk will materialize, how much loss we will face, that is potential loss. Second, what is the probability that such loss will such risk will occur, or we are going to face such loss. And the third, probability that a threat can mount, or threat agent is mounting a specific attack against a particular system. Here I can tell you, we need to be alert that hackers or competitors, which obviously they, in today's competitive world, you don't believe, not only one company spy on another company, even one country spying on another country. So we should get ready for such kind of different threats. Okay, that is what the explanation of the third point. Now, next topic is, obviously, before mitigating the risk, we also understand different types of risk. Now here we have three different categories. One is business risk, another is technology, and another is other risk. Now, when I talk about business risk, they are very simple. Strategic risk, which a risk which will stop from achieving our objectives, our goals. You can see regulatory, economic, like this pandemic. It is also considered as strategic risk. Financial risk that could result in negative financial impact to the organization. Now, risk from volatility in foreign currency, interest rates, that is called financial risk. Regulatory, when you don't comply with the regulations and the penalties will be levied on us, that is called regulatory or compliance risk. Operational risk. Now, right now, I'm just giving a small example. Operational risk, you know what? It is a risk which will stop us from the doing our work in an efficient and effective manner. Right now, I'm recording a lecture using my surface, using this pen, and suddenly suppose if my laptop is not working properly, so obviously I'm not able to record my lecture. That is something called operational risk for me. Okay, hazard risk are some of environmental risk you can consider. And residual risk, okay, they can ask this as MCQ. I hope you have done marking in your notes also. MCQ, residual, a risk which is still there after implementing controls, they are known as residual risk. Okay, try to remember this definition always. A risk which remain after implementing the controls, they are known as residual risk. Because look, whatever number of controls you will implement, there is not possible that 100% you can mitigate the risk, because any control will give you reasonable assurance, not the absolute assurance. Okay, now after that, technology risk. Now if you read technology risk, now there are so many risks and huge head points. It is not possible for you to remember each and every head points or explanations. Try to select simple points. Like you can see, every company will face first risk, obsolescence of technology. You buy a cell phone right now, next date is outdated, correct? multiplicity and complexity of the system. When you have a multiple infrastructure, different servers, different platforms, it is always difficult to manage different platforms, correct? Now, as we are not experts, we are businessmen, we are entrepreneurs, but we have always dependency on whom? Vendors, correct? Different system, different vendors, different system, different controls. So select such easy points for yourself. Now you can see vendor related concentration risk, correct? Dependence on vendor due to outsourcing of IT services, such kind of simple points. Now segregation of duties. Look, organization may have highly defined organizational structure with clearly defined roles, authorities, and responsibilities. The segregation of duties as per organizational structure should clearly mapped into system. Look, when we are doing manual business, everything manually, then it is easy for segregation of duties. But when same people are going to work on system, that moment of time also you need to understand the importance of segregation of duties, how you will do segregation of duties on system. That is also one of the risk which we face. If you don't implement properly, there will be always unauthorized disclosure of information, unauthorized modifications. That is what they are want to explain. Apart from that, external threats, hackers, they hack our system. Higher impact due to intentional unintentional act of our own employees. Okay, now apart from that, you can see new social engineering techniques. Some outsiders will create and have friendship with our employees, and through that friendship he will try to disclose all internal informations. Okay, so take simple points which you can easily remember. I will not suggest remember each and every points in this particular topic. Okay, and then data related risk, which is I told you other risk. Why I told you other risk? Because all this data related risk we have learned in chapter number 3. Okay, so business risk, technology risk, and data related risk, this are we have learned in chapter number 3. Okay, now risk management and related terms. Now this topic, if you remember, I have given you one diagram, and through that diagram I have explained you. So right now I'm taking to your whiteboard. Okay, if you remember, I told you how will you define risk. Okay, how will you define risk? So how will you define risk? To define risk, we have two different words. Okay, one is vulnerability, and the another word is threat. What is vulnerability? Vulnerability is nothing but weakness in our security. Okay, what is threat means? It is any action or event or condition which will compromise our weaknesses through series of attack is nothing but act of gaining unauthorized access, like using virus, worms, trojan horse. If threat is successful compromising your vulnerability, then definitely we are going to face loss, which is known as exposure. And how many times threat will be successful in compromising my vulnerability? Successful in compromising my vulnerability is known as likelihood. Okay, so likelihood is nothing but the success factor, success ratio, that threat is compromising your vulnerability. Now you need to protect your fixed assets, correct? You need to protect your assets from risk. I'm just clearing this. Okay, asset by implementing counter measures. Okay, my writing is not coming good right now, but you need to understand what I'm saying. Okay, I know that writing is not coming good because my surface is actually vertical right now. counter measures. Okay, so this was the actual structure of your risk. This diagram we have done in our lectures also. Okay, so here again I am shifting to our notes, back to our notes. So all these terms I have covered, and understand these terms from the MCQ point of view as well as a small questions. Now, once you complete this, risk management strategies will come into picture, because once you understand the risk, you need to implement a different strategy. Now, some risks are very low, which means impact of the risk will be low. Then we should accept the risk. Some risk we can eliminate because they are specific to technology, specific to vendor, by replacing the technology. That is called eliminate the risk. Some risk we can transfer to someone else, like third party. We should outsource, or we should take the insurance, so we can share the risk. When nothing will happen, neither transfer, neither accept, neither eliminate, then mitigate the risk by implementing appropriate controls like firewall, encryptions, like this. And finally, some risk whose impact will be very low, it is negligible, such kind of risk we ignore, turn back. Okay, this is risk management strategies. Now once you complete this, obviously, once you understand the risk, the next thing will comes is always controls. Controls are nothing but policies, procedures, methods which will help you to achieve your objectives. Now here they are explaining three different types of controls which we implement in automated environment: manual, automated, and semi-automated control. But practically all the big companies right now implement automated controls, where every information will be verified at different stages directly by the system itself. Okay, when manual means control means what? Human will verify. Automated means system will verify. Semi-automated means manual and automated mixture. Okay, and based on this they have explained a process and this diagram. But okay, just try to remember the three different name of controls and their explanations. No need to understand this diagram into details. Understand means no need to buy hard from the examination point of view. Don't worry, relax. Okay, and then you will get applying IT controls. Now here also they have divided the controls into two parts: general controls and application controls. Now you need to understand very well what is the difference between general controls and application controls. General controls means which are applicable to entire organizations, and application control means specific to application. Now look, in chapter number 3 we have done fire damage, water damage, physical access control, logical access control. All those controls are actually known as general controls because they are applicable to entire organizations. But then we also have done one topic called application controls, which is specific to application which we are using. Okay, now these are here main difference you need to understand was what is general control and what is application control. And within points are already easy, and you just try to remember the points, underlines, the underline which we have done in the explanation. Okay, now then application controls are very easy. Then you can see key indicators of effective IT control. Now look, first we understood general controls and application controls. Okay, now they are saying on what basis we will come to know that our controls are effective. So what they are saying, just see the underlying things: ability to execute and plan new work, development projects that are delivered on time and within the budget. When you are delivering everything on time and within the budget, which means your controls are effective. Ability to allocate resources predictably, the way you are thinking, the way you want, same way everything is going on. Consistent availability and reliability of information, IT services you are getting, which means controls are working. Clear communication to management about all the controls. Every time a particular notice going to the management regarding the controls are working. Ability to protect against new vulnerabilities also, new threat also, which means your controls are working correct. Key indicators of effective IT control. Look at the question very well. Okay, now framework of internal control as per standard of auditing, or you can say explain the components of internal control as per SA. Now here 5 points are given if you see very carefully, but this 5 points I told you at the time of explanation also. Learn from topic. Which topic? Enterprise risk management. Okay, no need to learn in detail from here. When you will do enterprise risk management, in that also this 5 points will come. Try to remember same explanation for this also. So even if they ask this question, explain components of internal control as per SA, these are the 5 names, head points, but explanation you will remember from enterprise risk management. They are very simple explanations, and definitely you will get marks, don't worry at all. Okay, now after this, explain the limitation of internal controls. The biggest limitation, management's consideration that the cost of internal control does not exceed the expectations. Here I also give an example of that, mediclaim, that there are so many people who don't take mediclaims, medical insurance, health insurance, they don't take, because what they feel, if we don't get sick, if we don't get admitted into the hospital, the money is wasted. Hey guys, this is a long term benefit. Right now you need to invest. They are not, the cost is not more than the benefit right now, because in 10 year also, whenever you will get admitted into the hospital, you will able to recover whole cost which you have spent in the health insurance. Think from the long term perspective, but there are management who never consider this long term. Okay, next, human errors, obviously can't help it. Our own employees are going to not break our controls and our trust, and they will leak the informations, because outsiders are going to give them money. That is also there. Then most last point, the most important, manipulation by the management itself. I gave you the example of Vijay Malia. When the management only going to do fraud, management who is actually setting up of all the controls, if they are only going to do fraud, then how can you stop? That is what they're talking about. Explain the limitations of internal control system. Okay, so here we have completed with limitations, and our last topic is enterprise risk management. Okay, enterprise, our last topic is enterprise risk management. Now these are 3 words: enterprise, which means doing business; risk, when you do business, risk you are going to face, which will stop you from achieving your objectives. But despite risk, how you should achieve your objectives is known as management. So enterprise risk management will help you to achieve your objectives, and will also help you to avoid circumstances which, by implementing preventive, detective and corrective controls. It will help you to identify all the events which is going to affect the organization, and how to mitigate those events. That is what enterprise risk management concept. Okay, now here you have 2 topics. One is of course benefits of risk management, and then components of enterprise risk management. When I talk about benefits, I give you a small keyword also. Again, I'm giving you, it's in Hindi actually, but MERA, Mera, LIPS, lips. Okay, Mera lips. This is a shortcut to remember the points. But again, you can see, when I talk about enterprise risk management, it clearly mentions, okay, okay, by implementing enterprise risk management, we cannot avoid a risk, or we cannot get a risk-free environment, but it will help to manage the risk. Okay, and when you implement properly, what benefits you will get? You look, align risk appetite and strategy. Enterprise risk management will help us to understand our risk capacity, and based on our risk capacity, we can frame the strategy, or we can select the best strategy for us. Link growth, risk and return. Now we all know that without risk you cannot get growth or return, but how much risk you should take, enterprise risk management will tell us. And hence risk response decision, based on risk analysis, risk response, which means whether to accept, whether transfer, whether mitigate, which strategy we should use. Risk response is nothing but risk management strategies: accept, turn back, eliminate, mitigate. Remember, minimize operational surprises and losses. Because when you implement enterprise risk management, which means you have already prepared for all the surprises which you are going to get in the future. Surprises means circumstances which can damage the organization, but we are already prepared because we have already implemented risk management plan. Correct? Identify and manage cross enterprise risk. Now, some risks are such kind of risks which actually start in one area but also affect the another area. So all those risks also we can understand and we can manage using risk enterprise risk management concept. Apart from that, there are so many risks, okay, but by implementing enterprise risk management and in such a way implementing the solutions, implementing one solution will manage all the risk. That is what the benefit of enterprise risk management, that you can manage multiple risks with a single control. Seize the opportunity and look, the event which is occurring, it may be positive or it may be negative. Positive means opportunity and negative means risk. So enterprise risk and management will help you to understand the events are positive or negative. And if it is positive, then it is an opportunity for the company. And rationalize capital. This is from management point of view. When you understand the risk very well, you know where to invest. Understood? Look, I always say that, like Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. I'm just giving an example. Okay, Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. He know very well risk of share market, and that's why he knows where to invest in which shares or mutual funds or whatever options and futures, where to invest, and he always get profits because he know the risk very well. So enterprise risk management will help to understand the risk very well, so company can invest only on those areas where they will get the returns. Okay, so these are the benefits of your enterprise risk management. And the last topic, how will you implement enterprise risk management? That is also one process, correct? Now first, internal environment. Before implementing enterprise risk environment, you should understand our own employees. Remember Vibhushan, I always say in my class that our own employees are the biggest threat to the company. Their behaviors, their understanding of the company, their understanding about the risk and controls. So first you should understand about your employees. That is called internal environment before implementing enterprise risk management. Second, objectives. Until unless you will not set the goal or objective to achieve, you will not able to see the risk clearly. Because what is risk? Which will stop you from achieving your objectives. So if you don't set the objectives, you don't have a risk. When you set the objectives, then you will find the risk. Third, the events which are occurring in the organization are not always considered as risk. Event may be positive or it may be negative. You need to identify the events. If it is positive, then it is opportunities, then there is no meaning of all those things. But if it is risk, then we need to go to for next point, risk assessment. Now risk assessment point is very important point. You know why? Because organizations are going to face many types of risk, but not all risk have a equal impacts. So you need to prioritize the risk. Risk assessment will help you to prioritize the risk. Prioritize means highly impact, low impact, medium impact, like this. Now based on risk assessment, we will select the appropriate risk response. Based on risk assessment, we will select the appropriate risk response, like whether to accept or you should transfer or eliminate or turn back or ignore, like this. Once risk response is selected, control activities will make sure whether we have implemented risk response strategy or appropriate controls or not. But always remember, whenever we implement any kind of controls, we should always communicate, we should always inform to our employees, so our employees can work and they can carry out their responsibilities very well. Okay, it is the duty of the management to inform our employees about the controls which we have set. Okay, and finally, monitoring whatever controls we have set, whether they are working or not, and if it is not working, again start the process. Now if you see very carefully, components of internal control as per SA, the question which we have just left earlier, you can see this 5 points are seen: risk assessment to monitoring. So try to remember these same points. Okay, clear? So with this, we are completing the revision of chapter number 1. I hope I tried my best to cover all important areas of this chapter. So thank you very much, and here we are stopping.